Hello, Woman Up community. It is Friday. Hello, hello, hello. Can we just take a collective breath?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. We made it.
First one I've taken all day.
Oh my goodness. I kind of had a feeling you were going to say that, Sara.
It's one of those.
Woo, woo, woo. It's been another taxing week for a lot of people, for a lot of the country and a lot of people in our own backyards. So we are going to start as our newest tradition and our newest show, which is shining a light on members in the community. So we're going to start today with Yvette Sloan shined a light on Amanda Mills. And here's what she said. Amanda is always there for me, cheering me on and supporting me. She inspires me every day to be better in an industry that is changing so quickly. I'm so lucky to have her in my life. Thank you for sharing that, Yvette. And before all of this happened, she turned that in. So talk about the ever-changing industry. Okay, next is a highlight on Eileen Oldroyd, who we all know and love, one of the queens inside the Women's Council of Realtors Network. She is the president in California this year. So here is what Amita Jane had to say about Eileen. Everyone might know Eileen as Green Eileen, but to me, she will always be Queen Eileen. She's one of the very first people in this industry to embrace me and home selfie RE. Eileen has a heart of gold. She's open, incredibly smart, and so much fun. At the WomanUP event in Boston, I was so moved by her kindness. She wanted to make sure I met folks in the industry and didn't want me to feel alone or lonely. That totally sounds like Eileen. When I was just getting started in the real estate space, she stepped out of her comfort zone to make fun, energy-efficient videos for us, and they were impactful. It was an incredible learning experience for both of us, and through this process and over time, we developed a beautiful friendship filled with fun and meaningful discoveries about each other, like the love of donuts and great hair, to name a couple. We do know Eileen loves her donuts. She loves her donuts. So thank you, Amita and Yvette, for shining a light on those ladies. Wow, we do have some amazing, amazing women in leadership in this industry, don't we? Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Last shout out that I want to start out with is one of our sponsors, Tammy Bunnell, the CEO of Exit Realty. If you are not following her public updates on Facebook, I highly recommend hopping over there. We'll drop her link into the comments. She has daily videos coming out, words of encouragement that she's always posting. She is really a beacon of light and hope in this industry, and we want to shine a light on her, not only because she's a sponsor, but because she is such an amazing, amazing spirit in this industry. So thank you for all that you do for us and for the industry, Tammy. All right, without further ado, let's get down to business. And Leslie, you're gonna start us off with the national news. So take it away.
Well,
what do you got?
Hi, everybody. I thought that, one of the things that, the whole WomanUP movement was founded on was data. What's really happening? Like, let's deal with reality and then create a strategy based on that. So I'm coming to you just as a bringer of some illuminating information. This situation has changed so quickly, and it's been so sharp that all of the usual measures that we rely on to tell us what's going on in the economy are so outdated. They're all rear view mirror type of things at this point. And we're starting to see data coming out in April for March. And we did that. And I'm going to share with you just a few of the statistics from CAR. On a month-to-month basis, our sales in March were off 11.5% and an annual decline of 6.1%. And on a year-over-year basis, pending sales were down 25%. So we are, here we are entering the spring home buying season. We looked at January and February, I mean, just take yourself back to those 2 months. We were doing great. I mean, January, February, and this was true nationally as well. We were 8.5% above 2019, and then boom, right smack dab in the middle of March, things started to change very, very quickly, and you had the shelter in place orders coming down around the country, and some parts of the country continued to maintain a fairly good level of sales for a number of weeks because there was so much already in the pipeline that had been negotiated in January and February. So that's why this March data doesn't really reflect kind of the steep drop off we're expecting in May and in June because of really the just dramatic drop in activity. The good news I want to share is that housing prices are holding up very well so far. In California, our numbers were still up about 8% on a year-over-year basis. And you've probably seen the comparisons between now versus 2002, 2008. So I won't belabor that point, but needless to say, the fundamentals of the economy.
Oops-a-doodle. The fundamentals of the economy. Oh, you froze there. Oh, no.
Did we lose her?
We did. We lost her. She was about to tell us about the fundamental something, and her hand was in like perfect professor mode. And she froze and fell off.
Well, I'm sure she's
there she is.
Back on. Yes.
That was so great. You actually.
Okay, let me just try this one more time. I just wanted to say the big really difficult news that came out on Thursday was claims for unemployment. Hold on. I think I'm attached in two different windows here.
Whoopsie doodle. So while we're waiting for her to come back, actually, Leslie just wrote a blog post for us that's going to go live on the WomanUP blog, and it is spicy.
Oh, it's all about Manals. Manals is a thing. Hashtag Manals.
It is a thing.
Up on Twitter.
Yes, we'll be promoting that. We'll be promoting that soon. Let me get Leslie back in.
It's a whole subculture.
Yes, the Manals. We're talking about how your blog post is going to drop on Manals.
Oh my goodness. Right, well, let me just try one more time to get through this. And if I lose you again, Sara, you take over. But I just wanted to mention that we had another 5 million plus people doing initial claims for unemployment insurance on Thursday, which brings the 4-week total to 22 million people, or 13% of the labor force. And that's why you have a future trajectory of the economy and people's willingness to pay on credit really up for grabs. You know, how long is this going to go on? So I would say that those were really really the highlights. I mean, this is very broad based, and we're hoping that we know we're going to have a tough second quarter, and we're hoping we turn a corner in the third quarter, and we'll just have to see how that plays itself out. Now, I don't know if I have any time to go through any questions or not, or I can do that at the end.
I have a question.
However you want to do it.
Sara has a question.
I have a question. You gave a presentation over 770 agents yesterday for a company down in Southern California, and I loved the notes that Mark McLaughlin took on your report. And what he said in the bottom was, you know, who are the winners? And so I'd love for you to share with the Woman Up community who you think are the winners, because I think there are a lot of winners in this community already.
I do, and I
what
really
read.
want to commit to do regular blogging for Women Up, and this is one of the things I'd like to talk more about. But I think it's very clear that the winners are the tech-enabled agents. We are being forced to utilize tools that have been available for a long time. But why do something out of your comfort zone when what you're doing is working? Well, what you are doing isn't working anymore, and you're having to make that leap. And the agents that made that leap earlier, either because it's an interest or they're young and they grew up with it, whatever it is, are really ahead of the game. And I think we're even seeing that at the California Association of Realtors, and Sarah's a huge part of that. I mean, it's the people that are able to utilize the tools, that are able to create the systems that allow an information flow in very creative ways through hotlines and on microsites and all of the things that we're doing. So that's really fabulous. So that's number one, the tech-enabled agent. I've just got 3 of them. Number 2 are the relationship realtors that realize this situation is a gift. Get in touch with your clients. Ask them how they are. Don't even talk about real estate. Create a human bond with them and care for them. And I know that's what you do anyway, but what a wonderful opportunity when you may have a little bit more time, and people, especially people that live alone, maybe there's just something that you can do, or email them or whatever, but that's really important. And then I think the third winner coming out of this is going to be housing. It's funny. There was an interesting, there's been a couple interesting articles on why California is doing so much better in terms of its infection COVID rate than New York. And it's a couple of the things that we always get criticized for, right? It's suburbia, we're all spread out, and we spend all our time in our cars. But it looks like in this situation, that has really helped us. So the thought is, are people going to be looking for less dense housing further out, and has this huge push into remote working, remote learning, remote everything, going to mean that that's a lot more acceptable, and our employers then are going to be able to hire nationally for local positions when you can just have Zoom meetings all day long. I'm not recommending that. It's tough, right, Sarah? But we're doing it. So I think that's a great thing to point out. I think those are 3 things that are really going to be keys to success going forward through this experience.
That's beautiful. Yeah. One of the things that came to mind when you were talking about the reaching out to clients, I don't know if this is the same for you gals, but everyone I've ever had, whether it's my hair diva, the gal who does my nails, the person who works shifts at a restaurant, they all have side hustles right now. They all do. They're all doing something. They're all kind of diversifying, trying to figure out how to make money, or they've always had a business. They've always sold hair care, some kind of skincare. There are ways that we can actually support them if we're able to. And so it's not always the job they lost. It's this other business they kind of had running on the side that we can support as well. And so one of the great questions you can ask after how are you doing is it's how can I support you? Do you have other businesses that I might be able to support or promote? Right. And that is such a beautiful way to give back again without asking for anything in return. If they do ask, there's things they can do for free for you. They can give you a review, put a review on your website. I mean, this is such a time where people are looking for ways to give and serve and do, right. Love on each other. And it's so beautiful. I love that. I love those. Thank you for that. Good is good. Any other tidbits on the national scene, or things that you've seen, podcasts you've listened to, anything juicy?
Well, I think I will say the National Association of Realtors is releasing now on a weekly basis a flash poll of realtors from all around the country. So I would direct everybody to the NAR website. I think they're doing a really good job about that. I think Rob Hahn's podcast has really been interesting lately, and really diving into the whole mortgage market situation, which I think everybody is very, very concerned about, because credit is tightening. mortgage servicers are in big trouble because their investors still want to be paid and nobody wants to buy a risky loan. So the fissures in credit and in the mortgage markets is something I think we're all watching very, very, very carefully. So there's just, I feel like, all of the interesting information out there, it's like drinking from a fire hose. You just can't ever do it. I do the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times like every single morning. So at least I've got kind of the basics, but oh my goodness, there's tremendous stuff out there everywhere. So we can certainly share some things on the site.
I love that. We'll figure out the link for that, the flash surveys. That's such a great tip. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Sara? What's happening in California? What's happening in your peer group? What's going on?
So California is the big thing right now. And, we've shared here for CAR members, we started it's called our COVID relief hotline. And it's really to help our members navigate through the different programs available for realtors, right? And programs that were probably never even, not probably, I will say that were never available to realtors or independent contractors in the past. The first one is the unemployment assistance. So we've been really helping members navigate that. The problem we have in California, and I will share with you some other states that don't have this problem, is that the Employment Development Department does not have an application out for realtors yet. So our advice is to not fill anything out. We finally this week got a date that they are promising to have the application available. And for Californians, it's April 28th. And once that becomes available, we expect our hotlines to be, inundated with calls. And so we're preparing for that, and we're enjoying a short lull right now. And so I also wanted to say that if you have questions about the FAQ, even NAR is referring their members to our FAQ. So if you're not in California, again, this is California specific information, but it also deals with some of the National CARES Act programs. So it's on our website, and we'll share the link down in the comments. But we were kind of like, yeah, that's nice. It's a nice form of flattery when NAR is referring to our amazing attorneys' intellectual property. So and all the stuff that we've been doing for our members on the CARES Act. The other big thing this week was that the SBA ran out of appropriated funds for the CARES Act. So all of those acronyms, PPP, EIDL, which are the small business loans that have a forgivable portion, Paycheck Protection Program, and it's called Economic Injury Disaster Loans. They ran out of money. So I just want everybody to know that that CAR and NAR are actively lobbying Congress to pass the fourth stimulus act that will hopefully put more money in these programs administered through the Small Business Administration. So that's why a lot of our calls are slow. There's not a lot to do at this moment until Congress acts. And in California in particular, we have a letter out to the California delegation. We're doing everything we can. I did hear, and I forgot to show you the states. I did hear some of the other states, Alabama, New York, Rhode Island, Washington, and Missouri all have their pandemic unemployment assistance for business owners, sole proprietors, and independent contractors to be able to apply for unemployment assistance. So that's kind of the big news this week. What we've been seeing is a real true moment of truth for CAR, and it's been really inspiring to talk to different brokers across the state, and just to be able to be the first point of contact and them know that we are fighting for you has been really, really great to be a part of. I think one of the things I do want to share, my sister's a realtor. Leah, you may have met her. She's been to all of our WomanUP events. But I shared this with our VP team this morning. Her broker gets all of my emails and has all of our town halls. We have an 11 a.m. Friday town hall with all the large California brokers. And he's sang our praises at their office meetings and shared all the information that we've been sharing with our brokers. And he was like, I don't ever want to hear you complain about your dues ever again, which was, a true moment of truth. So we're just trying as best we can to get the information and support realtors as best we can. So that's what we're doing.
I think that's so beautiful. So there's a couple of questions for you, Leslie, but before that, I've gotten a couple that are around something that you've both said. One is, is there conversations about how some of the opening of the gates for other people to actually access unemployment is making those numbers inflated so that independent contractors and others can actually access unemployment? So those numbers sound bigger, but it's because more people have access? Or are you not hearing that?
I'm not sure what that means. I would say the numbers are undercounting the number of unemployed, not overcounting.
Okay.
I mean, there are people that can't get through. I mean, you just read the articles. I mean, they're all over the place about the Small Business Administration loans. I mean, people can't get through. And if you're not a client, if you're not this, that, I mean, it's very, very hard. So I see these numbers as a low bound of a lower boundary. I think it's actually much higher than that. I don't think we have great employment data, but it's undercounted as far as that would be my take.
You too, Sara?
And realtors are not typically included in those numbers anyway, because they're independent contractors. And I will say the one thing that was pretty historic in the CARES Act is that independent contractors, and this includes realtors, it includes hairdressers and business owners, right? Like people who have never been able to apply for unemployment assistance will be able to get an employment check for $167 a week. And then they added $600 for about the period of 4 months.
Yeah.
Because they know that, this shutdown has stopped all income. I mean, if you can imagine, like, look at my nails, right? Like no business owners, no one's making money right now, and they need to feed their families.
Right.
And so
we're not going to get those forms till April 28th. So if you think of all of the people in our industry, and I don't know what the number is, but I know based on the calls that are coming into the COVID hotline, there are going to be realtors in California that are going to be applying for that insurance. They're not counted in the initial claims for unemployment right now.
Right. So it is like the people who were independent contractors, just not realtors, or all independent contractors. Not until the 28th. Yeah. So that'll be interesting to see how that shifts, because I think it's been so, all the numbers coming out left and right, it's overwhelming. Right. So I appreciate that. The first question that is on here for you, Leslie, is what do you think the trends will look like when April's numbers are released?
I think they're going to be pretty tough to take. When you look at a year-over-year drop in pendings of 25%, and I think the month-to-month number was close to 20%. I think we're going to see our sales down significantly, and I don't have a formal forecast to give you. I think 30% again would be a low bound. I think it's going to likely be much greater than that. And again, this isn't coming from our industry. This is I was going to say mental health. It's that too, a public health crisis that we will come back from. But there's just nowhere near the amount of activity. And again, we're seeing that in huge drops also in new listings.
Yeah, I bet.
So I don't expect the April numbers I expect them to be much worse.
So
with prices still doing pretty well, but sales down significantly. Got
it. Thank you for that question. And then there's one. What are you reading right now, Leslie? What books are you reading?
What am I reading? Let me
Besides
look at my
reports.
articles for one second
Besides the
because
Wall Street Journal
I
and the New
know.
York Times.
Besides the
yeah,
Wall
I'm
Street
kind
Journal
of
and the
reading
memes.
a lot of that, a lot of that kind of stuff. I'm reading that. I read the New Yorker every week, which is terrific. But let me see. I'm reading a book on Florida called "Oh Florida." I'm reading Megyn Kelly's book "Settle for More," which I'm really enjoying. I'm reading a book that Sara recommended me called "Biased." And I'm reading the book about the Temptations, Ain't Too Proud to Beg. So that's my um, eclectic reading right
Awesome.
now.
Thank you for asking that, Sherry. Wow, that's a great list. We'll drop those into the comments as well so that others can read what Leslie's reading. I know you, Sara, have a lot of hats and a lot of things going on. What stood out to you this week? Like, what did you read? A specific report, listen to a podcast, see a show? You know, not a
No.
Netflix show.
Oh, okay. So one of the things, it was my guilty pleasure last week, or maybe it was a week before, were the memes. So share the memes with me, please. I need you all to curate the memes because they're so funny about quarantine, remote learning, parents being teachers and full-time workers. Like that is my comedic outlet. So that's what I've been not able to do. What else have I been reading? I just actually, so I'm all ingrained in the CARES Act, and I was just reading a Fast Company article on why the CARES Act was such a bumble, and how it was rolled out, and why people aren't able to apply for pandemic unemployment assistance, and why the SBA ran out of money and it was doomed from the start. And hopefully the next round of stimulus, and what this is telling me is that hopefully, and I'm praying for our members and for people who are in so much pain out there, that the next round of stimulus will help.
Yeah.
Right?
I was just reading one of my girlfriends, she's a Spitfire. She's a small business owner and she supports them. She sent me this shameful post about how the two really large restaurant chains, between the two of them, took $30 million of this small business money for the paycheck protection. And I was like, oh Lord, here it comes. Like it's going to start rolling. The thing is that we are seeing people take advantage. We are seeing things like that happen. And, this is actually quite a fun segue into what we're going to be talking about in just a couple of minutes with Tracy Hawkins, which is, preparing ourselves. There's things we aren't going to be able to control, right? There are the numbers that we're going to be sharing in the next few weeks. We can't control them. We can control how we react to them. We can control how we prepare ourselves to hear them. I mean, taking our deep breaths as we open our computers every day, like really preparing our hearts and our minds for what's coming, because you gave light at the end of the tunnel, Leslie, right? We're going to come back out, and hopefully it's true. Housing is going to be a place where people go and they still continue to rush towards, right? There's people with pent up in their homes waiting to get to this big house because they don't want to stay in this tiny little house anymore, or vice versa. It's too big. They don't want to ever be in a house this big. Something like this happens again. I mean, there's so many moments that are eliciting real estate needs and changes. So I'm really praying that a lot of that comes to fruition, ladies. Any last words?
I did have a really cool read that I shared with both of you, and it really talks about when we come out of this, what I took from this read, and we'll share it in the comments. It's prepared for the ultimate gaslighting, right? And that's and I want to give a shout out to Barbara McNeil, who's in the community and sent this to me. But this article is so beautiful in a sense that it gives, this whole pandemic and shutdown is giving us such an amazing opportunity to reset and pause and reassess what we've all been doing, right? Like Leslie and I have been talking about, we've met with more of our California brokers in the last 4 weeks than we have in the last 4 years, right?
Right.
And not that we hadn't been, but there's a lot of engagement, and we were always, trigger shy to do stuff virtually, and now it's forced us to do that, and it's so easy. No one has to get on a freeway. No one has to miss a dance recital for the, you know what I'm saying? It's just it's this wonderful opportunity for us to rework what works and throw away what doesn't. And I want us to all stay woke on that, because it will go back to normal, but it should shift to something more beautiful than what was normal before. And that was my last. That was a great read.
That was a fantastic read. I just dropped it in the notes for you. And I think my response was on that text string was, I feel like there's some things that I'm being called to do and write, and some guides that I'm going to be putting together. And of course, the WomanUP community will be the first to see all of that, because I do think we actually can control what that is, because we get to choose what we let back in. We get to choose what our lives look like on the other side of that. And it might be a little painful at first, but I think there's a lot of beautiful changes that are in our future. And I, for one, am so excited to see people choose peace over hustle. Come on now.
Yes.
All right. So ladies, any last bits? Any last tips or tricks?
I'll just say, and this is a little bit tags onto what Sara just said, but really, don't waste a crisis. This is an amazing time to force change. And for people that are in organizations that are typically very slow to change, and I think the real estate industry is smack dab in that category. We are always bemoaning the fact that we look like we did. I mean, I found a white paper that I wrote 25 years ago, and it's the same stuff, about the consumer and technology that we deal with now. I mean, let's not waste this, let's not go back to the old normal. Let's push the changes that we know have needed to be made for a long time and haven't. And now we're doing it. So let's just stick with it. Don't waste this opportunity to, as Sara said, reevaluate and do different things and have different leaders, right? And have new leaders.
Yes. Beautifully said. That was one of my favorite things that you said last week too, Leslie, the don't waste the crisis. So beautiful. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of people out there shouting, amen, amen. I do have one final question that came through, and that is, hold on. Oh, I lost it now. Something about, will there be town halls for smaller broker owners anytime soon?
Thank you, Cynthia. I just commented in the string. We had been hosting these big broker meetings every Friday at 11 for the last, I think we just hosted our 5th one. So what that showed our officers is that they wanted to reach out to the smaller community. So we had our first one on Thursday at 1. And so we've kind of got in a groove there. So next Thursday, 1 o'clock, we'll be sending it out to all the smaller brokers. If anybody wants to be a part of that, just email me, sarah.s@car.org, and we'll get you we'll send you the invite. We don't post it anywhere on social media, though.
That's smart. That's smart. All right, ladies. Well, you're welcome to stay, but I am going to be welcoming in our guest. So
bye, everybody.
That's your cue. Love you both. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend. 5 o'clock somewhere.
Bye.
All right. So without further ado, I am so excited to kick off this brand new segment, everyone. We are calling it a wisdom segment. And our first guest is a woman that many of you know. She has participated on the group. She traveled all over the country speaking to us. Her name is Tracy Hawkins. And let me read to you a little bit about her before I bring her in, just so she can get ready. I see her smiling brightly at me in the green room. So Tracy, the safety lady Hawkins, is a former real estate agent who has taught thousands of agents across the country to live and work safely for over 25 years. She's also created the country's only real estate agent safety designation, the Consumer Safety Security Specialist. Woo! CSSS. I love that. It's designed to teach agents to make more money working safely and protecting the consumer. She's regularly quoted in Inman and has been featured in other real estate industry publications, as well as on The Today Show, The Boston Globe, Quicken Loans Rocket Homes, The Washington Post, CNN.com, ABCnews.com, Des Moines Register, The Kansas City Star, ABC. Woo! 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 This lady has been in so many spotlights, and I am super excited to bring her on. So without further ado, I'm going to unmute Ms. Tracy and bring her in. Here we go. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hi.
Thank you. I'm almost impressed with me.
Isn't it fun when somebody else reads your bio?
Sounds good to me.
Well,
yes.
Well, here's
a writer for the National Association of Realtors, Realtor Magazine.
Yes, it's in there. We'll definitely share the full bio in the notes. You're here to join us today specifically to talk about 4 tips for being safe in a virtual world. And when we were talking about how to bring safety into our world today in this current season, you just brought the fire. My friend, you brought the fire. So, I loved how you kind of brought it around the dangerous behaviors that we may or may not be participating in and or doing. So what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Okay, first and foremost, I talk about Zoom safety. Everyone all of a sudden is on Zoom, whether you were before or if you were before and not as much, but Zoom, everyone's doing Zoom now. So there's a lot of news stories about people who are getting Zoom bombed, and that is not necessary. And one thing that you all talked about earlier is being proactive and making a plan and having a plan in place. So there is one simple thing that everyone can do to avoid ever being Zoom bombed. Password. Set a password. And I'm one of those people, I will admit, before all of this started happening, I'm one of those people, if I joined in on a Zoom call and I had to put a password in, I kind of rolled my eyes. It's like, this is a hassle. I'll never do this to anyone. Now it's necessary. And it's simple. I mean, and it's important. And people are doing Zoom conferences for family get-togethers as well as for business get-togethers. So just keep in mind, one thing to prevent Zoom bombing, take the time, set a password.
I love that. Well, and I think that in one of the latest updates, they had some issues, but one of the ones that they took care of was that I think you actually have to turn it off now in the pro account. So I think the free account, you still have to turn it on, but for those of you who signed up for the pro account, I think you actually have to say, I don't want my event password protected now, which is really smart on their part. Right. Let me ask you a quick question, Tracy, because I'm hearing a little bit of feedback. Do you have our talk open in maybe in your browser?
Just right here on my laptop.
Okay. I'm not sure what that is, but hopefully the rest of the world is not hearing what I'm hearing. So let us know in the comments, ladies, if you are hearing the feedback, and we'll get that fixed real quick, because I want people to actually be able to lean in and hear us 100%. Okay, so Zoom bombing, that's of course when somebody comes uninvited into your Zoom. So avoid Zoom bombing, make sure you've got the passwords on, and don't flinch when someone has a password. I love that. I know that there's also been a lot of conversation around virtual home tours, and you've got some really great tips on making sure things we should and things we shouldn't do. So give us a skinny on that.
I mentioned that I have a twin sister, and she and I got our real estate licenses together 5 years ago. A long time ago. She's still an agent now. And when all of this came about, a lot of agents were saying, oh no, I'm not going to be able to work. I'm not going to be able to conduct business. Stacy reminded me that she was able to sell $1 million+ house sight unseen. Well, not in real life. She was able to do a Facebook Live where she had her phone and she was FaceTiming her client who was across the country, showed them the house, wrote a contract, and closed it without even having to be there. So it can be done, and I know agents are doing it all the time. What I'm saying is that agents are becoming better friends with their phone than ever before, and the cameras on their phones. So you're doing virtual tours, and I've seen a ton of them on Facebook. So good for agents for being able to pivot. What I need to say is that you need to be careful what is shown on those virtual tours. And a lot of times agents aren't thinking about that. Their goal is to show as much of the house as possible since the client can't see it, the consumer can't see it in real life. I am saying be careful what's shown. If they have an expensive gun collection, no. If they have expensive artwork or that closet has jewelry in it or designer handbags, anything of value, you need to be extremely cautious if it is being shown when you are doing virtual tours or virtual videos. We don't think like criminals, Debra. So our minds don't automatically go to, what a criminal's thinking. But I must say that you have to start thinking, put on that criminal thinking cap and think, how will a criminal take advantage? They're sitting at home and they can easily case a property from the comfort of their homes. So agents, be on guard and be careful what is shown. Even when you're doing virtual videos just for your Facebook page and you're at home and you've got that expensive collection or anything, be careful what's being shown in the background of your virtual videos.
Yes, I love that tip. I think most of us are, everyone wants to have everything fabulous and show, this beautiful house with this beautiful art. But unless the art conveys with the home, there's no reason to show it. And I actually just had a friend today remind me that there's people out there who actually don't realize that when they are on a Zoom call and they're walking around their house, that people can see everything as they're walking through the house. Like, I think people have forgotten that they're so comfortable with Zoom now that they're not even thinking about those ramifications. It's the Poor Jennifer video. I don't know if you've seen this, but it was a group of social workers having a Zoom meeting. And this one gal, her name's Jennifer, she took the laptop with her into the bathroom and peed on camera. But she's just thinking she's attending, she's just listening. She's not remembering they can see me. So let's not be poor Jennifers either. So watch the expensive collections and remember people can see you. There was also another reminder, a lot of us are business on the top, party on the bottom right now.
Exactly.
And so make sure you have pants on if you get up and there's a mirror behind you. These are things that we can forget that are pretty darn important. So I think that's so good. So good. I know that the third thing that we were talking about was safety tips regarding live events, like doing a Facebook Live, setting yourself up for yourself, right? And so we've got the virtual tour and we've got the Facebook Live. Is there anything else in the Facebook Live side of things that you're thinking, be careful?
Well, anytime you go live, the whole point of going live is you're showing, especially with real estate agents, you're showing, you can be like my sister, you're showing clients, I'm right here right now, we're looking at this in real time, and you keep hearing that word real time. So everyone's making a big deal about what we're doing in real time. When you're in real time, you're telling that maybe would be criminal there, put the hat on, you're telling them, first of all, where you are. In the real estate field, stalking is a big deal. So you're telling someone, I'm right here today, I'm working, this is what I'm looking at. And even if you're on your own private time, if you're at the park or just getting out, you're telling everybody, hey, friends and family, I'm here, this is what we're doing now. Not only are you telling people where you are, which has its safety implications, but you're also telling people where you're not. And you're thinking, what's the big deal about that? There are websites, and I talk about this in my class, and people's mouths are always hanging open. It's like, really? And I put the slides up on the screen. There are websites that make it their business to compile all of the information about you and to make it easy for anyone to get just with the click of a button. A lot of it's free, and some of it you have to pay for, and sometimes people even subscribe. But the point is, they're compiling information. You can search your name and find out where you live. Not only where you live, but a map to your house. And there's information that talks about who lives in your house. And it's like a family, who your neighbors are, the demographics of your neighborhood, crime statistics, all of that information. So there's no such thing as privacy. So here you are doing a virtual open house for 3 or 4 hours, perhaps, or however long you decide to do it. And then here's a criminal sitting at home thinking, oh, they're not at home. Let me look really quickly and see where they live. And then you're suddenly a victim of a burglary. So you have to think outside the box. And that's one thing that I've learned to do and that I've learned to incorporate. And I hate to tell you to think like a criminal, but in order to stay safe, you need to.
Well, I think that the most important thing that I'm hearing is you can still do it, but think of ways to do it in a way that you can protect yourself. In other words, if you're going to be doing a virtual tour and you're doing, there's no need to do that live per se. You can share it later. If you want to share that you're the beautiful walk where you live, share it later. You don't need to share it in the moment. You can say, check out this beautiful property I listed yesterday. It doesn't have to be an in the moment. Not everything has to be live.
Mm-hmm. But Debra, there's some novelty and some benefit to being live. So I agree with you. I wholeheartedly agree. And one thing I talk about in the social media part of my class, the Safe Social Media, is, after the fact, you can post a video after the fact where you've been, what you've done, same difference, really. But if you decide to go live, that's where I say, make it a point to know what's out there about you. You need to know that that information's out there so you can plan accordingly. If you're one of those people who think, oh, there's nothing out there about me, no big deal, I'm here, look everyone, look at me, then you're vulnerable. But if you go in, having done your research and you know what's out there, that people can see your house, they know where you live, then you can plan accordingly. So do it, but do it with knowledge.
I think that's so beautifully said. Be aware, be self-aware, and know your options. So the last tip that you shared with me that I thought would be great for the community is around social engineered phishing questions, things that are happening on Facebook and social media, and it's rampant right now. So, and before you give this tip, I want to make sure that anybody who has done this or has posted and asked other people to do this, please shake off the shame. You did not do this intentionally, but we want to make sure everyone is aware of the potential risk in some of these fun things that we're participating online.
I agree. And I brought that point up the other day. People should not be embarrassed that they've done it. Social media is about being social. So you can do so, but you can do it in a safe manner. All of us are kind of cooped up and we're all just kind of prisoners in our own homes. So we're looking for any kind of social interaction that we can get. If you'll notice on Facebook, there is a trend of questions going around. What was your first car? And people, it's fun. You dig up a picture of your first car or find a picture online and you show your friends. Everyone has a comment. People are really getting into it. To help support the class of 2020, show us your pictures, your graduation pictures. And people are digging up the pictures. And I admit it's fun. It's something interesting to do. But what you need to realize is that social engineering is at play here. Again, we're looking at it the fun, lighthearted way. A criminal is sitting back looking at ways to scam people. If you think about if you ever get locked out of any of your online accounts, you get to pick some security questions. Think about the kind of questions your security questions are. I know I've seen it. What was your first car?
Yes.
Where did you go to high school or,
yes.
That information.
What year did you graduate or whatever? Yes.
And here we are freely, innocently, naively giving that information out while most of us are having fun with it, but there's still that criminal somewhere lurking in the background, making a note of all this. And then all you have to do is jump on someone's page to fill in the blanks, the rest of the information. There's their puppy and they're talking about their puppy, Frankie, whatever the puppy's name is. We're giving them all of the ammunition that they need to steal our identity and to just wreak havoc. So I am saying be careful, but also keep in mind that just because you think you have privacy settings on your account, privacy is a myth. There's no such thing as privacy. So how many times have we seen an image on TV, a now deleted Facebook post? No such thing as privacy. So your friends' connection, anyone can screen print it, they can forward it. No such thing as privacy. So all of that information is there for the taking. So be extremely careful in how you share and what you share.
Oh, I love that. Oh my goodness. So if there is anyone who is listening to the live or the replay that is thinking, wow, I need to have Tracy in my office meeting. I want to have her come out and do a virtual training at my, for my office or for my association, for my groups. What's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
I can point you to my Facebook page, my website, Safety and Security Source. And then I had someone who contacted me to book me, and I always ask, how do you find me? And someone said, all I had to do was Google real estate safety. And then there you were. So search for me under Tracy the Safety Lady, or if you go to nar.realtor, you can find my articles where I get to write about safety. And as you noticed, Debra, I don't say the same thing everyone else is saying. I had to find a way to differentiate myself. So I have a twist on any kind of information that I present. I'm looking at it from the former agent point of view, as well as having done this for 25 years. I'm on the front line. So my safety is different. And then you can just, like I said, search me and find me, or find me, Tracy the Safety Lady. And I want to thank you for mentioning the designation that I created. I had to find a way to teach real estate agents how to work safely, but I had to show them how to make more money doing so. And one thing that you asked me to do is to provide a handout, some kind of giveaway.
Yes.
If they go to my website, on the front page, you can find what's been probably my most popular handout creation is a FSBO safety tip sheet. And it has 13 safety tips that agents can share with FSBOs with their business cards attached. And it's 13 things that FSBO who's thinking about saving that commission, they never thought about the danger that they're putting their families in. So they get an opportunity to take that, share it with FSBOs, and convert those to listings. And I've also created a class for brokers, managers, and owners, and I'm teaching them how to not get sued successfully. I'm teaching them how to protect everything from their physical office space, the tools and the equipment inside, the people, setting up safety training. And I wrote a handbook, a safety policy and practice handbook for real estate offices. So I'm always pivoting. I'm always trying to think of how do I add value to the relationship and help make my training important for agents. So I'm in this world of pivoting already. So I'm just pivoting even more. And now I'm pivoting online, doing more webinars, and hoping to do more in-person classes this year.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Tracy. We'll make sure to, after the show, we'll make sure to get all of those links in the comments so that our community can get in touch with you and tap into the wisdom and training that you do have, because we want everyone to be safe, to feel safe, to be doing their business in as safe a manner as possible. So thank you so much for joining us. All right, everyone. So before we end today, I want to make sure that I'm sharing a couple of quick updates with you. And Tracy, you can stay if you'd like. I'd love to have your face, but I don't want you to feel like you have to stay. So we have book club. We had our very first book club this week. And I don't know if you were able to join us, Tracy, but we had our very first book club. We're doing Daring Greatly right now. And it was fantastic. There was a couple dozen people throughout the experience that popped in, either virtually through video, or they were on their phones just listening in. And we realized we really want to add another date. So we're going to be meeting the next 2 Wednesdays, the 22nd and the 29th at 11:30 a.m. Pacific time on the Zoom link. So I'll make sure to drop that event page in here. It's not too late to join the conversation. Not everybody who came to the first one even read the first chapter. It's a conversation on vulnerability and how we're dealing with everything that's happening to us in these times. So join us if you want to come together and have a conversation and talk about what you're going through. And Daring Greatly is a great filter for us. It's a book that came out 5 years ago, but the content that's in there is so incredibly timely. So join us for that. Join us for the book club for sure. And again, I'll drop those dates in there. Also, we've gotten a lot of questions on how people are staying kind of sane working from home with everyone in the house doing the same things. And so I thought I'd share one of the big tips that seems to be resonating with the community. And that is stop sitting in the same spot all day long. I want you to start considering moving into different locations in your homes. And I want you to start considering having a place where you do your Zooms, where you do your Facebook Lives, where you move to different spots. So set up a nook for your Zooms. It could also be all in the same room, but where you're getting up and moving around. You have fresh backgrounds for each one of your conversations. I have a space that I'm doing for the Spill the Tea with Molly that's over on the couch in my studio. When I'm not doing video work, I go down and use the kitchen counter so that so I can stand up. So think about how you can use the space in your home creatively, and also do that for the other humans that you share the space with. So if you've got kiddos at home and a spouse at home, have them start to choose different spaces where they can participate in moving around throughout the house. We've probably got a couple more weeks in most states, at least a couple more weeks of shelter in place. So have some fun with designating new locations in your house to live and work and play, so that we're not so bored that our hips aren't getting stuck in the same chair all day, and that we're getting up and stretching. So if you've got tips on how you are keeping sane, on how you are working and living and playing and being in your home all together with your family, we'd love you to share your tips down in the comments below. Until next week, again, our next opportunity to get together would be the book club. But every Friday for the foreseeable future, we're going to be doing one of these WomanUP weeklies, and the update section with Leslie and Sara at the beginning, and then the second part of the afternoon is going to be with a guest. So for those of you who have already filled out the form, thank you so much. Thank you to our very first guest, Tracy, who is with us here today. You were amazing. This is the kind of content that we want to bring: fresh, fun, helpful, value-packed content. So those of you who have already filled out the form, will be in touch with you to schedule your Friday afternoon slot. Those of you who are thinking, man, I've got a really good topic I want to share, I'll drop the link for you to fill out that form. And with that, I want to say thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here live. Thank you for listening to the replay. And I look forward to seeing all of you on the interwebs throughout the weekend and the week ahead. Take good care, everyone. Bye.